We're up to number 3 now, and that's going to be the monsoonal flooding we had across much of the area during the latter part of July. Now, the monsoonal setup across Wyoming, this usually takes place usually the end of July into the first part of August. A lot of times you get a very strong ridge of high pressure that'll set up across the southern plains states during this time. They don't get a lot of rain here. What it does, you have clockwise circulation around the area of high pressure, and also this isn't pictured here, but you get what's called a Mexican heat low here. And you get counterclockwise circulation around that. So you get what's called a conveyor belt effect. Basically, picture items moving along a conveyor belt. But in this case, it's going to be moisture being drawn up out of the Gulf, and in some cases out of the Pacific as well, and coming right up into Wyoming. That's how we get some very heavy rain and thunderstorms. Now, there's one parameter I want you to take a look at here. Some heavy science content here. This is what meteorologists call precipitable water. There's this picture of precipitable water as if you had a column of air and you're running all that moisture out. That's how much moisture, the depth of the moisture, I should say, if it all fell out as rain. A little complicated, but I'll show you how this works in a minute. First, I want to take a look at this QT diagram here. A couple other things to help set this up. You can see this is the layer of moisture here. You can see it's very, very saturated. This is the line of temperature. And this is moisture here. When they're close together like this, it means the atmosphere is very saturated. Now, one other thing I want to look at here before we get into precipitable water is this right here. You see lower levels, this is usually what drives the thunderstorms and how they move. You see very light winds here and actually chaotic. These thunderstorms are very slow moving, so the heavy rain falls over an area, can't handle the rain, and it runs off as flooding. Now, the precipitable water value here, that's right there. I know it's kind of hard to see, it's small, so I'll put a big number up here. Now this is in millimeters. Now I know you're thinking in America, we don't use the metric system. Well, I'll put it into inches then. There's a value right there, about 1.14. Now, next thing we look at is how does this relate to normal for this time of year? It's a distribution of precipitable water all across the area. And you can see late July, which is where this little arrow is right here. And you can see this is our monsoonal season, and precipitable waters usually peak about this time. Now, the average for this day is right around 0.62. And even the 90th percentile, so 9 out of 10 will be below this. It's only about 0.78. You can see here's 1.17. We're actually up in about this area. So when it gets this high, that definitely gets our attention because it does give you the impression that we could get some heavy rain and maybe some flooding. So you combine all that heavy rain, slow-moving thunderstorms, and you get something like this. Somebody having some fun in one of the streets that flooded in Rock Springs. So as we look at the impacts, a lot of roads were flooded in Rock Springs. They were impassable for hours. Over 50 homes actually sustained damage in Rock Springs. Water was moving so fast it actually broke some basement windows. So a lot of basement flooding there. Other places had problems too on the 30th. There's over 2 inches of rain around Casper Mountain. Casper Mountain Road was shut down. They had some rock and mudslides there. And the next day on the 31st, there was also flooding across Kenmore and Diamondville from the same slow-moving thunderstorms on a different day. Now stay tuned. We do have a couple of videos from the flooding around Rock Springs and Kenmore. We'll have number 2 for you tomorrow.